Hello,
All right, we
everybody.
have Oliver, Becky, and Johnny. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Guys, thank you for standing by. I'm sorry it took so long, but I appreciate you guys standing back and standing by, as Trump said. So, let's see. So we have Johnny.
Hi.
You used to work for Colleen on the
Yes.
tour. And then we have Becky. Becky,
Hi.
you're the girl from the infamous story of
Yes.
the skirt situation. I don't know how to put it delicately. It doesn't sound horrible. Yeah. And then Oliver, you are
Hello.
the unfortunate recipient of some really wild
Yeah.
messages.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Holy smokes. So anyway, thank you for coming together, guys. Are you guys all weenies?
No.
No.
No, none of you guys are weenies.
No.
Someone thought I was, but no.
Oh, that's interesting. So there's so many more people out there.
Oh, there's a lot. Yes.
So first, I guess, Johnny, so how did you get recruited into working for her?
Well, I actually started watching her videos and tuning in 2012. I was 15, and I started entering tiny chat rooms. I created a fan account, and I was met with a bunch of people my age who were like-minded, and we enjoyed this character. And it turned into a very inappropriate situation and power dynamic between them and us. And I was like a part of the OG fandom. Like, we weren't the weenies or anything. We were the cookies is the name that we
So wait,
coined. Or
so
actually
you
coined
were
off of us.
you joined a community with other fans. So what was the power dynamic? I'm not understanding. They were Colleen's camp was involved in that somehow?
So it started because I was tweeting her off of my personal account, but then I started getting flack because I was just in high school, so kids would make fun of me for it. So I like created this private Twitter account. I created my own fan account, and then I had followed, there was probably maybe like 4 to 5 other fan accounts. We all followed each other. I saw that 3 of the girls behind these accounts, who were all like my age, they would Skype Colleen. And I was like,
So this
what
is
the
a
hell? I
different.
want in.
Okay, sorry. Just to
okay.
clarify, this is a different Colleen chat group.
It's different generations.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's why.
That's it. Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's been going on for years.
And so, okay, so were you on like voice chat with her or like a chat room?
Yeah, so Tiny Chat was basically this. It's like a public Skype, Zoom type of situation. You could either have a public profile or, public chat room, or you could have it private. Ours was tinychat.com/Colleen's cookies. The password that we had to type in to get into the room was queefing. That's how I learned what that word was.
Awesome.
And we would be, okay, let's say if I was chatting with my 14 to 17-year-old friends as a 15-year-old during this time period, if we were on Tiny Chat 7 days a week, Colleen, her ex-husband Joshua, her brother Trent, it was like the 3 of them were the repeat offenders. They would just be on at least like 4 to 5 times a week with us.
Wow.
Wow.
So okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting to know too, that her brother, who was the one messaging you, Oliver, had access, and obviously he must have been granted access.
Yes. Kind of. He got scolded for talking to my friends and I back in the day. And we found that out because Colleen had come on Tiny Chat and told us one day that her parents had a talk with him because he lived at home. And this was before he had gotten his cochlear implant, which helps him hear now. He was born deaf. Before that, he couldn't hear, so he didn't understand. He had to mute his computer. So her parents were afraid that there would be sensitive topics being discussed within their family that would be picked up on his computer. It's kind of messed up that that was their concern rather than their 30-something-year-old child talking to a bunch of kids on the internet.
But
Yeah.
also, what are they talking about in the house? That's it's so scary to
Well,
them.
I mean,
Top
are we
secret.
really surprised that
No,
I don't want to know.
And so, were either the other two of you in a chat room with Colleen at any point?
No.
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 And so, I guess, Jack, what do you think that she got out of coming on here and talking with you guys? Like, she came on, sounds like pretty frequently.
It's interesting because we really don't know what her motives were. I've been asked to try to describe it in one word. I think the power that keeps coming to mind is power, which she clearly abused. I'm not sure if she went into this situation, me and my friends who were fans way back in the day, I don't think it was as malicious back then. But as we know, technology has blossomed and there's more accessibility. It's so much easier to be in the DMs, film a quick video chat like this. And yeah, it was just a different world, but there's a lot of parallels from the video chats and the DM conversations between the weenies and Corey's clit. And
so, looking
Yeah,
back on that, in what way how is she like abusing her power? How is she interacting with you guys inappropriately now that you're older and looking back on it?
well, abuse of power in the sense that her and Joshua, her ex, they divided the fandom a lot, even before they were married. I wasn't always the closest with Colleen. I was way, way closer with Joshua David Evans. He really swooped in, and that's a whole other tangent. But they would almost like pit us against each other as fans. They would pit us against one another. Like you'd be Team Josh, Team Colleen. Throughout their entire relationship, it was like that. I knew some people who, way back in the day, said they did not like him, and I didn't understand. I liked both of them. It was weird, and sometimes we'd end up fighting online for them, and it would be encouraged. Colleen used to use a hashtag that we came up with. It was drama with like 5 extra A's. So you could look it up and see, like back in the day, she used to use this hashtag, and it was always when there was like drama within the fandom. She encouraged it. It's like she egged it on for us.
So it didn't feel like a joke at the time. It felt like she was like, "Yeah, I want you guys to hate Josh."
Well, now it feels that way. But as a child, it kind of just felt playful, just felt like our, in her words, just felt like our creepy aunt coming up, just trying to hang out with us kids. And,
It's a weird way to spend your time as an adult.
right? I'm 27 now, which I believe is the age she was when she started talking to me. And there's no part of me that wants to open up my laptop and talk to a bunch of kids or like spectate their conversations, because Tiny Chat had that option. There could be like the 4 of us in a chat room right now, or 5. And then there could be spectators and they can chat, but they don't necessarily have to broadcast. And they abused that feature. There's actually evidence that I posted of Joshua pretending to be me, talking to my friends as if he was me. And he then broadcasted after however long he stayed on that night. Clearly I wasn't on. All of them thought it was me. And then
That's
So
weird.
your relationship with Josh is interesting and weird to me, because I've seen people talking about him as like, oh, he's innocent now and he's a victim of hers, because I don't know anything about him or their previous relationship, but I read that he was talking to you in the same way that Colleen was talking to other people, and I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? So,
Yep.
So how did he reach out to you, and what was that relationship like?
So honestly, in 2012, we would primarily tiny chat with Colleen and Trent. Josh would pop in every once in a while, but he would only do it like if it was with Colleen. It was very, very rare that he would just come on by himself, unless he was a spectator even more than we had realized. But like actually broadcasting wasn't super often. So my parents, I was just having a shitty time in school, which is kind of why I gravitated towards this online world. And so my parents were like, you know what, let's do something special for the holidays. And Christmas 2012, she was doing a show in New York City. And at the time, she either did West Coast or East Coast. And I was in Illinois, so I had to pick one if I wanted to go. So we made a little trip out of it. And then that is the evening of the infamous crown. Oh, the infamous crown that I was given, that is signed by, oh, I don't want to show the phone number on the back, but Miranda, Colleen, and Josh himself. And they just went down the line and signed it. And then afterwards, he flipped it open and kept writing. And I was kind of like, what? And then he handed it to me and just kind of gave me like a little nod of affirmation and was just kind of like, use it whenever you need.
Huh?
Wow.
That is the
was like,
weirdest shit ever. This
Wow.
man gave you his phone number and said, text me?
I was 16, yeah.
Wow.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And did he know who you were or that you were in that chat?
Yes, but see, the thing is, I was really flattered about it because I thought Colleen would be more excited to see me and meet me, but I felt like I had this like weird instant connection with Josh in person. And then I was like, okay, well, Colleen's kind of fixated on like her faves, if you will, and I didn't really feel like one of them. I was just known within the fandom. And I was like, well, Josh seems to really like me. And he started giving me promises. He pinned my YouTube channel, my little aspiring one back in the day, on his channel that eventually accumulated like 1.5 million subscribers. That was a massive deal to me. Like, I got bullied out of high school my sophomore year, and these people just honed in on me and they were like, ooh, like, this is good. He's an easy target. And I was. And yeah, they just totally abused their power in that sense. They take who they deem as weak, vulnerable people, and they create the victims, or they turn you into more of a victim, but they also do it in a way where they pretend to be your savior a lot. And it creates a very abusive dynamic, especially for a teen going into adulthood. It followed me clearly. I didn't work for them until I was 22 years old. And looking back now, I'm like, I was an adult. I'm ashamed of that, but it's what I was brought up to believe was right and wrong. And I was just influenced.
So I want to ask you a question going back to when he handed you the number. So,
Yeah.
so when did you reach out to him and how did you reach out to him? How long was it after you got it?
Yeah, so I somewhat revived a dead laptop of mine, but it's on life alert. Like it comes and goes. So I think I have more text that I could go back and find. I believe on that night I sent him something like, hey, thanks for your number. This means a lot to me. I think I even included something like, I promise not to abuse it and just use it when needed, because I took it as he was going to be a mentor, as he says today, but that's not what it was. And
And did he respond to you that evening?
He did. Yeah.
Okay. And then you guys started texting like on a one-on-one basis?
Not super regularly, because I didn't want to abuse it. I didn't want to lose this privilege, because they like gave you little things, but then would kind of hold it over your head. Even if they didn't say it to your face, it was heavily implied.
So you had said that he said he wanted to be your mentor. So what is it that you think he got out of that relationship with you?
Well, I only just found out like a week ago that he was trying to be my mentor when he publicly stated that, because he was just my big bro. He was my 30-year-old BFF. I didn't know he was trying to mentor me. I thought I was in a friendship, and I was in my world. And that whole dynamic, it's just, he had me run a Twitter account for him. It was a character that he ran, a belligerent, drunk, blonde bimbo, if you will, by the name of Sarah Ridiculous, who is problematic beyond. I'm sure of it. I haven't even rewatched any of the videos recently, but I'm sure that would spark up some convo. And I ran this Twitter account for him. He approached me and he asked if I would run it because I was running a fake account. I had created like a spoof of Sarah Ridiculous, and he contacted one of our friends who he thought was running it and was like, "Hey, you want to run the official one?" And she was like, "No, it's Johnny." So he came to me and was like, "Do you want to run the official one?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." And he gave me the password, the username, and he was like, "Your discretion. I'll pop in from time to time. I might, interact on the account and stuff, but it's all you." It was what Colleen said to Adam with being
That's what's interesting. It seems parallel where they both asked you and Adam to do free work for them. Did he ever offer to pay you or compensate you or anything like that?
No, but he always promised me things in the future. It was always if I played my cards right, I was pinned on his YouTube channel. I'd be featured in little, BS YouTube videos from time to time. He would say things like, "If I ever make it big, I'm taking you with me. We're going to make it big together." And I was just impressionable and I believed him
For sure.
wholeheartedly.
Did you put a lot of time into running that Twitter account?
Not just Twitter account, just investing so much time and energy into my relationship with not only him, but these people in general.
Yeah.
The best way I can describe it is, not fitting in school, constantly feeling like I'm chasing the cool kids. I finally escaped that and found a world that I did feel accepted in, but I didn't realize that I was just chasing the cool kids in a completely different way. That it's embarrassing to say followed me into adulthood. And it just turned into like this cycle.
Something that struck me as interesting is when Josh and Colleen got divorced, you say that Josh stopped talking to you altogether in that moment, right?
Yeah, so they announced their divorce, and I remember like my entire family was devastated. Like my mom cried because they built relationships with my parents too. Colleen referred to my mom as her Chicago mom sometimes. Josh, we went to dinner with him and they hung out with him too. Like my parents, my two oldest sisters, one's 42, one's 40. There's a big age gap between me and my youngest sister. So my parents are kind of used to having different generations in the family, and they really kind of took these people in kind of like their own. And I say that lightly because, it's not like they had this massive relationship with these people, but it was someone who I trusted. And because they knew I was dealing with such BS, in the real world,
You confided in him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just messy how not only did they prey on us kids, but they really went above and beyond to like prove to the parents that they were safe people as well.
That's really wild that they spent time with your family like that.
Yeah,
so-
now Josh, he like tries to say it's a lot more minimal than it was, which is infuriating.
So when Josh, was it like he immediately ghosted you once they divorced and he never wrote you back again?
Yeah, so they got divorced. I remember I was just trying to like take care of my YouTube parents on the internet and see from both sides. In the process of doing that, I went to his channel and my channel was unpinned along with all of the Ballingers, and I was like, well, why was I clumped in? And he just completely cut me out. I was trying to message him. I texted him and was like, I'm sorry. Did I say something to upset you? Like, I guess I started off as a fan of Colleen, but like you're like a brother to me. Like, don't leave me, dude. Come on. You said we'd go somewhere together. I was heartbroken. It felt like I was going through some weird effed up breakup, and I was still only like, I think I was like 18 at the time. So I was just entering adulthood. It was a really confusing time for me. And he just completely left me high and dry.
That's pretty
like a week
cold.
later, yeah, I made a public statement on the Sarah Ridiculous account that I didn't feel right running it any longer. I didn't really elaborate at the time because I didn't want to destroy my friendship with Colleen. But yeah, then the next time I heard from Joshua David Evans was last month when he was trying to damage control his way into my life.
So I'm sensing that a lot of the kind of negative feelings associated with this is just the way he discarded you at the end after you really seem to have built what you perceived as a meaningful relationship with him.
I almost felt like he got what he needed out of me, and then he was just done. Because I also, there's a story about how I came out to him one night when I flew all the way out to California to see one of his shows, and I was only like 17. And I wasn't out publicly yet, or like at least to like my family. And I told him that I wanted to tell my parents. I first had come out to him, which he responded with, "That's none of my business." And I was like, "Oh God." And then I tried to give him redemption, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to tell my parents. What do you think about that?" And he was like, I'm worried for you. I'm nervous for you. I wouldn't do that."
What? That's wild. In person,
Yeah,
he
so
said that
then,
to you?
what's that?
Was that in person?
Yeah, yeah, and there was another witness there who heard that.
The
He was a
heck?
friend of mine at the time.
Where do you think that came from?
I described it to Swoop, who's been doing a docu-series on this, as I feel like it was the moment of him being like, "Oh shit, this kid's turning 18 in a couple days. He's coming into his own. I'm losing control." That's how I feel in hindsight. Like just the fear in his eyes. It wasn't like, "Oh, that's none of my business. Like you do you, kiddo." It was like, "Well, that's none of my business." And I'm just, I can see it in my brain. It's like scarred, and it just, I don't know. It felt like a moment of loss of control and him kind of not knowing what to do and panicking. And I don't know.
Yeah, I always wondered because I wondered if how much him and Colleen talked about like his relationship with you and her relationship with other folks. Because there seems to be a parallel, and I wonder if she knew or if they were coordinating or if there was any kind of sense of something like that between them.
Well, here's the thing. She had her relationship with Adam while Josh was having his relationship with mine. So they probably didn't talk about it too much because they were probably both on their phones on opposite ends of the couch DMing minors.
That's so
So,
weird.
yeah, I mean, no wonder there was tension in their relationship. I mean, if all of this stuff was going on behind the scenes, if you're not paying attention to your significant other because you're chatting with children online, that's grounds for a failed relationship in my world, at least. It's just weird. I don't
It's
get
very
it.
weird.
I
It's
don't
very
understand
weird.
it.
Did this leave a lasting effect on you that you were like friends with this older guy that you confided in, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared and left you like discarded, nothing? Did that hit you pretty hard, like growing up into maturity?
Yes, but then I had my redemption. My Lord and Savior, Colleen Christ, came and swooped in, and she was the hero of the day. And she trauma bonded with me to the max.
Really?
And yeah, yeah, we both hate Josh, right? We have so much in common
So
amongst
when did she
everybody.
reach out to you? How did she know to reach out to you?
Well, I reached out to her because it was Corey had posted on Facebook back in 2018, early in the year, that they were going to need help on the upcoming tour. And I DM'd him and I was like, "Hey, I'm interested." And he was like, "Okay, we'll talk." And I was like, "Well, forget him. I don't want to go through him. I want to go through Colleen." But I didn't have her number yet. And she didn't DM me a lot. So it was kind of hard to get in contact with her. However, I still lived in Illinois. I was going to see a show in Wisconsin that weekend with my mom, and she would just cover my tickets. I didn't pay for tickets. I think all the years I've supported her, maybe paid for like 2 to 3 tickets. And my mom and I, we went to her meet and greet just like everybody else, but we stayed towards the back of the line. That's what people would do to get their extra few minutes with her if you were like a cookie, a queef, or whatever she wanted to call you. And that day, I decided to put myself out there and just tell her to her face, "Hey, saw Corey posted about this. Count me in. I want to do it." To my surprise, she was like, "Absolutely. That's the best idea ever." She was like, "You know my show, you know me, you know the ins and outs. Why didn't I think of this?" And I was like, "Damn, I thought you were going to say maybe, but this is better than I expected." And that's how I got wound up in it. I want to say that was like March of 2018. And then like a month later, I had started going on tours with her.
Oh, that's when you guys bonded, like in person while you guys were touring.
Yes, yes, but she used a lot of my trauma with Josh to bond with me because her friend Corey was being straight up abusive to me the entire tour. And whenever I would go to her and cry to her and be like, I am absolutely miserable, like, this is not what I wanted, this is not what I expected, I want to go home. She'd be like, no, like, please, we just have to make sure tour goes as smoothly as possible. He's an asshole. I'll talk to him. Da 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 da. And then there was one specific time where I told her, I was like, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And she looked at me and she was like, you just saying that you feel like you're walking on eggshells is exactly how I felt when I was in my relationship with her ex, Joshua. And then she started talking about him, and I was like, "Wait, wait, are we not gonna, Corey? Oh, okay, sure, yes, Josh, we hate him, great." And then it was just kind of like the end of that conversation was, okay, well, glad you feel better. We both hate Josh, and what
The
now?
other
I
thing,
went back to the bus. They went back to their hotel rooms
what's
because my
interesting,
room rights got revoked.
your what got revoked?
My room rights.
Oh, you
Huh.
lost your room rights? What does that
Yeah.
mean?
It means what it sounds like. I basically, it was like one of night two or three, we were like in Albany, New York, and after shows, we'd get on the bus, load everything up, drive to a hotel, get there about 2 a.m., unload. If you wanted to sleep on the bus or wanted a room, you had the
Why
option.
would
But,
anybody choose to sleep on the bus?
well, Mr. DeSoto is an interesting one, and there were a few nights where he enjoyed sleeping on the bus. I will say, very comfortable, like a little cocoon, Tempur-Pedic. It was nice. It wasn't the worst, but
Okay.
it's one thing to have a little cocoon versus a queen mattress in an actual room. And there was an evening where we got to a location super late. Was still trying to figure out the dynamic of rooms. Two of Colleen's crew members got a room. Me and Corey were paired up, and then obviously Colleen and Eric had shared a room. Me and Corey, we had discussed early on that the way it would work is we would either share the room, or if a person says, I want it tonight, sure. I never planned on doing that because it was Corey DeSoto. I'm not going to try to fight him for a room. If he ever told me I want it for myself, I was going to respectfully bow out and sleep on the bus. That's just kind of how it was presented to me. So this night we park. I poke my head out of my little bus cocoon and I see that him and Colleen are standing in like the little living area. And I get out. We're at the hotel, so I see that the tour manager had left out room keys for all of us. And I see Corey and Johnny. I grab mine. I go up to the hotel, or actually, I asked Corey, I was like, do you care if we share the room? And he was just he mumbles a lot. And it's just inaudible mumbles. It's not talking, it's literally mumbling. So I was like, okay. Then he went in his little bus cocoon and shut the curtain. And I was like, baby sleeping on the bus tonight. Okay. So I went up to the room and then I texted him and I said, I didn't realize I grabbed both room keys. Do you want to sleep in the room? I wasn't clear on your answer on the bus. If you want a key, I can run down and get you one, or I'll open the door for you. Like, I was giving options. And he was like, no, it's fine. Just make sure that you're awake early enough in the morning because I'll run up and get a key so I can get in the hotel gym. And I was like, okay. Flash forward to the next morning. He comes up to the hotel room and I get a knock on the door. I open the door and I greet him, just hi, good morning. And he doesn't say much, but again, sometimes he just doesn't talk or he mumbles. So I was like, okay. And I went and I sat back on the bed and I was like, how are you? Like, what's up? And he wasted no time. He just immediately started screaming at me, talking about I stole the room from him and he has worked his way up to the top. He has seniority. He would lick a toilet bowl clean for Colleen. Like, he deserves the room. I don't. And I was like mortified beyond. And I was like, Corey, I think this is a misunderstanding. Can we please talk? And he stormed out of the room and slammed the door on me. And I just sat in the bed for a few minutes, had a little bit of a panic attack, cried, ran out of the hotel, ran to a park nearby, and I called my mom. And that was the first of many phone calls to my mom where I was like, I don't know if this was a good idea.
So they no longer let you stay in hotel room after that?
Yeah, Colleen had texted me and I had shared these DMs, or not DMs, text messages then, on TikTok a few nights ago. And a lot of people glossed over that conversation because I don't think they remembered a whole lot of the context behind it. But she was like, it was totally my mistake. I didn't explain the situation right to you. I love you. Da 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 da. It was just all deflection. And then I ended up having a in-person conversation with her because I explained that it had bothered me and I wanted to know the correct way to approach Corey because I felt it was necessary to apologize to him. And yeah, when we got to the next theater, which oddly enough is I think the night that Becky was there, if it was the
Oh,
Syracuse.
wow. Interesting.
Yeah, full circle. It
Yeah.
all loops in. That night I had apologized to Corey for that incident, and Colleen had told me in the conversation I had with her prior or after the apology, she was like, I think it's just best if you don't use the room anymore. And you can sleep in my bed on the back of the bus if you want, which felt weird to me. I tried once and I was like, not a fan. And then she just tossed me off to our lighting, sound guy, tour manager's room, who they also started sharing with the bus driver. So it was like four grown dudes trying to get every minute of sleep we could, try to shower within like an hour time frame. It was impossible. So I ended up just not having a shower in the morning. I had to wait till we would get to the venue and I would choose what days it was necessary versus not. And if I had time before work, great. If I didn't, I'd wait till the show was over and I would shower before we got back on the bus in the venue public showers, like the gym shower, essentially.
So you mentioned that you were backstage during the show where the incident happened to Becky. That's very interesting. I want to talk to you, Becky, and maybe we can all just discuss. So I can't see Becky. I don't know if that's a thing that you do. Oh yeah, thank you. Hi.
Hi.
So
I have it set to auto switch, so once somebody starts talking, it'll automatically switch to them.
So at the time, how old were you at the time you went to this show?
16.
16. And were you were a hardcore Colleen fan at the time?
Yeah.
And so you showed up and you wore, can you explain it? How you explained it? You wore like a skirt or something. You're trying to get her to pick you for this porn segment?
Yeah, so I wore a romper because like I was saying, she usually picked girls that were wearing like a little bit of more revealing clothing to go up on stage for that bit. But honestly, like I've worn it before. It was just something I owned and I didn't really think much of it anyways.
So you get called up there. I find it really interesting that Johnny was backstage because I kind of want to know what was the reception of the crew backstage. But essentially, Colleen called you up for a yoga bit. And
yeah, well, it was first a try not to laugh bit, and then it was a yoga challenge. So there was like two different segments.
So just walk me through how she guided you through that experience.
Just from the beginning, like she called me up from the audience, and when I got on stage, I don't remember if this was before or after the Try Not to Laugh challenge, but I know Johnny was talking about how he saw it too. I remember Colleen's eyes widened quite a lot when she realized that I wasn't wearing like pants or anything. Well, obviously,
what is it you think that was going through her mind when she noticed that?
Well, I thought at the time that it was just her being like, uh-oh, like we have to pick somebody else. I honestly expected that she was going to send me off the stage when she looked at me like that, but obviously she didn't.
So what do you think it did mean, looking back?
Well, Johnny and I have talked about this, and I don't know, we both kind of think that she saw it as an opportunity to make it more funny somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what happened?
So we did the Try Not to Laugh challenge, which had 4 people on stage. And then After that, she sent two people off stage, and then it was me and this other guy. I was before the guy. So basically, she had like a picture of the yoga pose on the screen behind her, and she said, "Okay, lay down in this position." And yeah, and I did it because I mean, I wasn't going to say no. Like,
Yeah.
I loved her so
Totally.
much.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, I was like, this is not good. Like, I am not wearing enough clothes for this. This is really bad. I wasn't really sure like what she was going to do exactly with my legs at that point, because I saw that in the picture they were open, but I wasn't sure if like she was going to do that or whatever. But yeah, then she spread them open. I remember I was just really scared because the romper was like falling off completely, basically. And I remember just like thanking God that I was wearing shorts under it, but those shorts also didn't like really fit me right. So I was worried that like she would also be able to see something. And that was like haunting me because she was someone that like I looked up to a lot and was like big in my life. And I was like, I don't want you seeing anything. This is weird.
Did it, when she was doing it, did it feel like inappropriate, or were you just kind of thinking
I mean,
it
it
was
happened
normal?
fast,
Yeah.
but I would say the excitement of kind of being on stage had worn off at that point because I had already been up there for a few minutes for the Try Not to Laugh challenge. So it definitely did feel like inappropriate in that moment.
Like,
But it was also just kind of shock.
and so Johnny, backstage, was there a reaction to that?
Yes, I was actually explaining to Becky that it wasn't a good evening on the bus. The atmosphere was very strange because when it was happening, Becky has mentioned that her eyes widened. And I remember it didn't feel like oh no, look at what this girl is wearing type of reaction. It felt like, she was squeezing the mic kind of like, yay, like this is a thumbnail waiting to happen. These are clicks. Like that's the way her mind works. That's the way her family's mind works. So I think, as Becky said, it was an opportunity. However, backstage behind the curtain, what Corey DeSoto does for her shows is hit a space bar on a MacBook Pro for an hour and do a slide. It's PowerPoint. And I would usually just stand next to him or side stage, and then I would perform with him on stage. We would run out sometimes, so I had cues and everything. But yeah, so for this segment, we're standing there, her eyes widen, Becky walks up on stage, and we could never see who she was choosing until they were on stage. So we see it's Becky, and we know who Becky is. She had been to a book signing the week prior. She had been to a few other shows. Like, that's how you know these conversations were had with these young girls, because sometimes it wasn't always publicly in DMs online. It was during that meet and greet moment at the end when the fans who were like the well-known Twitter fans would wait at the end and have those few extra moments. They'd be like, Colleen, like, is this okay? Like, is this good for the porn bit? Is this good for this bit? And she'd be like, oh my God, yes. Like, I'll look for you in the audience. I'll try to find you. And that was the dynamic. So these girls would just try to dress skimpier and skimpier. And it wasn't because they like the victim blaming and the slut shaming of children, and the misogyny is beyond. Becky was coerced to wear this outfit for the porn bit, which we could get into, but
when you say coerced, what was that somehow? Was there an expectation that you were going to wear that, Becky?
Not personally.
Oh,
but
okay.
I know that had happened to other people. I honestly don't remember exactly what happened, but like Johnny was saying, I had been at the book signing the week before and something happened. My memory is a little bit fuzzy, but I told her I was going to like one of the next shows, and because something had happened, she was like, oh, it's okay, like that happened. I'll try to call you up on stage or something. But that was the extent of it.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. So, but like, I wondered when I heard your story if there was like a stage manager or director or producer or somebody back there to like keep the show on the rails that was like, what the fuck is going on?
The thing is, yes. And also I wanted to clarify too, what I meant by fans being like coerced or like lured into these situations It's because if you dress a certain way, you get to have a stage moment with your idol. Who wouldn't want to have pictures of them on stage with Miranda Sings? Before I worked for her, I used to have my hand in the air waving her down, trying to get called up. And I was called up. I did the Miranda Sings birth bit with her when I was 17 years old in Chicago. So it was your goal to get called up on stage. You would do what had to be done to get called up. And that's she used to spit water and like milk on fans. And like you would degrade yourself to have your moment with this woman.
Okay, I see. So, and Becky, that sounds like it rings true. Like you wore that with the expectation that you were probably going to get called on.
Yes.
Yeah. So
but to answer your question about like the dynamic backstage, we did have a tour manager. There was a team, and me and Corey, when we saw what was going down, we were kind of side-eyeing each other. And Corey, I am not a Corey apologist, but me and Corey were looking at each other kind of like, she's gonna modify it, right? She's smart. Like I thought of all things, she could have been like, you guys, look at what this girl's wearing. Look at the picture. I cannot do that. And then she would have gotten a laugh. But instead, she laid Becky on the ground. And I don't care if Becky was wearing a pantsuit. You do not do that position to a child. Even more so because I found a video of her way back in the day. For some reason, she was watching something where someone did that yoga position or whatever, and she stated in an old video that it looks like a sexual position. So why are you incorporating that position into your show that is all ages according to you?
And according to the box office.
Yeah. And her reaction after the fact, she got off stage and it was the instant hot topic, what had happened to Becky that night.
They
really?
talked about it afterwards.
Absolutely.
You mean
That's how I
backstage
know
or
there
during
was
the
drama.
show?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
They talked about it backstage or during the show?
No, backstage.
Okay, that was interesting. So what were people saying about it?
Well, Colleen got off of stage and was kind of like giddy about it, kind of like, oh my God, did you see what she was wearing? And we were kind of like, yeah, you gonna do something about that? Like, you need to either remove, I think it was Eric especially, because, you know, I had to kind of know my place. I was already getting the seniority thing held over my head, so I couldn't say much unless it was things involving me. But, you know, Eric, if memory serves me right, he was pissed. The tour manager, if memory serves me right, was like, I want this segment removed or changed. And she thought
it was filmed for YouTube?
What's that?
It was filmed for YouTube? Is that what he wanted removed?
No, from the show.
Oh, okay.
She acts like it's so hard to take things out of the show. Again, let me remind you, Corey literally just sits there and presses a space bar on a PowerPoint slide. All it takes is 1 second to either delete a slide or replace that portion with like a quick segment.
Becky, you were there with a parent, right?
I was with a family friend.
Oh, okay. What did they notice it? Were they like, what the fuck was that? Did they know that something had happened?
They didn't really say anything about it.
But you had mentioned that when you were leaving the venue, you felt like, when you say men were looking at you, mean like the dads that were there with their kids?
Yeah, because mostly like any older men over like 20 would be a dad. Although I do remember that there was this one guy who was really looking at me who did not seem to be a dad. He was like probably like 26 or something, and he was just by himself. And at this venue, you had to leave like the audience place by going down an elevator. So I was in the elevator with like my friend and then other Merfandas, but then there was like some guys who were definitely looking at me that in ways they were not looking at me before. It was pretty gross.
That's weird. So collectively, when you guys kind of look back on this period of your lives, like even before all this started coming out publicly, were you guys feeling like resentful and looking back on that, just feeling used and dirty? I don't know how to describe it.
I mean, for me personally, something really interesting that happened was I had seen a Miranda Sings show in January up in Thousand Oaks because I live in Orange County now. It was a bad experience, and leaving it, I had even run into a fan of mine who I mean, I don't consider her that anymore because I mean, I haven't worked on tour in years, but I had recognized this girl. And so I had run into her after the show and we were just talking, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna like pull back from all of this. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like this world, just because it was terrible. And then, months down the line, Adam's story is getting brought back up. And I already kind of like went, or I came out of that experience back in January thinking I was going to slowly remove myself completely from these people, just kind of like trickle my way out. And didn't happen that way because I saw Adam was talking about his story again, or I should say his story was being talked about again. So he had to defend himself. And I just, as much as it was hurtful for me to see Colleen just stand back and watch her friend be really abusive towards me, I felt like as an adult in the situation, I felt like I had let Adam down a couple years ago by not saying anything. And so I feel like I finally had the chance to do the right thing for not only him, but myself as well. And that's why I have been so outspoken this time around, because the time before I had seen them months ago was in 2019 physically. I haven't spoken with them too much. They really have just paid me dust ever since I busted my ass for them. And the only time I really heard from Colleen a lot is when Adam came out with his video in 2020. I had texted her to kind of, be an adult in the situation and be like, yo, what's up? I think you should make a statement and say something. And she let me know that it was the same thing as what's happening now, that she was told to stay quiet by whoever, and that it would just all go away if she just didn't say anything. And she chatted me up for like 2 weeks. I was like a therapist. I received more nudes of Trish.
Okay, yeah, that was another thing that you were able to bring to light, because the allegation that she was sending nude pictures of Trisha to her fans was like almost unbelievable. And then you got the screenshots, and it was like, holy fuck.
Yeah. It was that was a conflicting thing, because I had found them on my laptop and I was like, I got to get these out. But like, I also didn't have a way to privately contact Trish. It was a whole thing. Now I've taken the pictures down because I don't like, they've served their purpose, right?
Sure.
But it was just in the moment. I felt so gaslit from not only this woman, but so many other people in her circle. I had to get it out there. A part of me was pissed that Trish hadn't made a response yet. And I was like, well, I know a way that'll get her to. And
well, that's true. And it did work.
Yeah, I just really wanted people to take this seriously. And I knew, especially with us coming on this podcast and, history with Trish and everything, like I think it's even more impactful that we are speaking on this podcast today, and she just publicly denounced this woman a few days back.
You wanted Trisha to be forced to publicly denounce Colleen?
In some way, I knew that Colleen was probably telling Trisha behind the scenes that we were full of it, and that pissed me off.
Yeah, and she was.
And then I think it wasn't... With this situation, at least, I think I was a bit irritated by that fact. I was a little irritated that Trish hadn't said anything. And not only Trish, there's plenty of other people who I think should have said something by now who haven't. And that's just my personal opinion.
You want to say name? You want to name names?
Sure. I think Joey Graceffa, Daniel Prada, Frankie Grande, Glozell Green, all these people who constantly appeared and were very active in her life should be saying something, because I know if I was that tight-knit with a friend back in the day and these allegations started publicly coming out about them, I'd be the first to say, y'all, that's weird. I'm not about that life.
So what kind of statements would you be happy with them to say about it?
Honestly, I think a statement could be as much as an unfollow or just publicly showcasing that you do not support this person in a public light anymore. I think that's a statement that says a lot. Or, people like Tyler Oakley wrote a big statement and put it on a streaming platform, I believe. At the time, I wasn't super thrilled with this, but in hindsight, Grace is going through a lot of shit right now. So her and Mamrie Hart, Grace Helbig and Mamrie Hart, like referred people over to Tyler's denouncement and said everything he said, we stand by it. And I was kind of like, okay, is that a cop out? But again, I'm good with that. It doesn't have to be this huge formal thing. It's just, I think the ones who were really, really active in her life, it's just a bit bizarre to me to see them acting as if nothing happened. But then again, like, what can you expect? I mean, it's just more of a personal thing. I just kind of wish that these people would say something, but it's not necessarily an expectation I'm holding on to.
And Oliver and Becky, did you guys, leading up to this whole outing of her and her family, were you guys holding on to some kind of bitter feelings or thinking back on it, or did it all kind of come out now with everybody talking about it?
Are you gonna go, Becky, or am I gonna go?
I was gonna say you're gonna go.
We're both just looking at each other. I guess I'll go. Honestly, I had been already kind of like fading out of the Twitter fandom. Not that I didn't like support her as a person in the back of my mind and like, you know, still like her as a person or whatever. But, you know, I was fading out of the Twitter fandom as early as like, you know, late 2019. Like, you know, I didn't last for too long, even though it felt like a really long time. But yeah, so I hadn't really, I mean, I still had met her and like gone to shows even as like recent as last year. But yeah, but even when I did, it was just like I went because it felt like the tradition. It was like, oh, Colleen is coming to my state. There's no way I can't go if she's coming to my state. Like you know, like just felt like, I don't know. It wasn't like this big like, oh, I'm so excited to see her. Like it just, you know, it kind of felt like.
Did you see Trent at any of the shows?
No, I didn't. I have never met him. I think he only really went to like shows that were local around the LA area. To my knowledge, I don't think he like traveled.
He never traveled with them. Yeah, he would only stay local, California shows, like SoCal.
And so, did you have like this moment? You're like, oh shit, I have this experience with Trent. I should share this.
Yeah, so I even maybe like a year ago, like a year or two ago, I thought like, you know, maybe I should share this to warn people because I still like I knew from other people that had told me because of course I couldn't see his tweets because I was blocked, but other people told me that he was still interacting with like people on the timeline, and I'm like, I feel like I should warn people. But at the time, you know, when I felt like that people weren't going to perceive that very well because I don't know why. I didn't think, I thought people were probably
Look what happened to Adam in 2020. Like how could
I didn't want to, you know? Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you guys, were you guys on the receiving end of any harassment and shit when you guys shared your stories? Big time. Wow.
Yeah.
Becky's giving an emphatic nodding. But that's interesting to me because yours came out recently, right, Becky?
Yeah. Going back to the original conversation, I think I kind of slowly stopped being a fan of Colleen from that night, and especially when in 2020 those racist videos came out because I'm part Mexican and I saw that and I was like, no. But I posted originally about the stage experience on like the Colleen Snark Reddit about 7 months ago. And because I had been holding it in for so long, because I knew if I had said anything, it would have been like an Adam situation. People would have been like, you're just ungrateful, because everybody wanted to be called on stage. But yeah, I did get a lot of support on the Reddit page from that. So then I kind of was like, well, maybe I can talk about it now when like this happened, just all happened a few weeks ago. So like I posted that TikTok and stuff, but I've definitely gotten an insane amount of backlash and people like commenting on my body and stuff of like when I was 16. It's crazy.
Wow.
That's gross. Are they Colleen fans or just random TikTok freaks?
I think a mix of both. I would say mostly random TikTok freaks.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the worst.
Yeah, some people have been really horrible to Becky. Like, I
Really?
honestly feel so bad for her. Like, honestly, everyone just like give her all your support. Like, she could really use it right now because there are so many horrible people.
Yeah, I hope it's not getting you too much. I know
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people who are appreciative and support you, and anyone who's saying anything bad is just a total fucking troll freak.
I always hate when the people like Colleen in the situation, like in Colleen's or whatever it is, when they say that the victims are just like doing it for clout. It's like, this is really hard to do what you guys are doing. This is not fun. And like what you're saying, you're getting hate, you're getting nasty comments, you're getting all kinds of stuff. Why would anybody do this for clout? You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, why would I want to be known for this?
Yeah, it's not
like I made a
awesome.
whole
It's not
separate
like-
TikTok account and everything for this. Like, I don't really want people tracing it back to who I am personally. I mean, it's happened because this has been picked up by so many like news outlets and stuff. But
Becky,
it's
I
never
want
something
to
want
ask
for.
you. In Colleen's video, she described what she did to you as a fart joke.
Oh, yes.
Is that accurate? I don't know that that's accurate.
I mean, when that like happened, when she spread my legs, there was a fart sound playing over the speakers. So I guess it was like, that's what they wanted it to be seen as. I don't think that's what she really intended it to be. Like, I think there was something more sinister under there in a sexual way. I also saw somebody say that they think it was actually a queef joke, which makes a lot more sense because she was obsessed with
Grosser,
it.
weirder.
Yeah. But yeah, no, TMZ made an article about it and called it a fart joke and said that that's why people were canceling her. So I assume that's where she got it.
Oh,
from.
they actually had a headline that she's getting canceled over a fart joke?
Yes, this was in like
What
the
the
beginning
fuck?
when stuff started coming out. So yeah, I assume that's where she got it from for the song. But yeah, I was pretty upset about it because I don't know, it was definitely something very vulnerable to talk about and that I didn't want to talk about for so long. And now it's kind of the joke of a very large internet meme. So
she completely minimized your experience, and
Yeah, it's kind of
your experience was very valid and it was very horrible. And thank you for speaking about it, all of you.
Yeah, Olivia's a Fallen fan, so she's right there with you guys.
Oh yeah.
What do you guys wish that she would have done, like, instead of the ukulele song?
Anything?
anything but that.
Anything that wasn't that.
Probably
Like,
just
what
post
the heck
nothing
is
would be
that?
better. Just nothing would be better than that.
Yeah.
I am actually curious, what was your guys' reaction when you saw the uke come out?
I was like, what the hell is she doing with the ukulele? Like, what is she doing?
I've been taking a nap when it happens, and people were like texting me and were like kind of briefing me on it beforehand. So I knew it was coming.
She didn't even mention your experience, Oliver.
Right.
She just basically didn't even happen.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, in closing, I want to thank the three of you guys for taking the time and calling in. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Is there anything you guys want to share or anything that you want to say before we part ways?
I just want to say thank you for supporting us.
Is Johnny here or did he disconnect?
I don't know. He like
Johnny
disappeared 2 minutes ago.
Connected.
He said his internet gave out for a second.
Oh,
There
Oh,
we
yeah.
go.
I don't know if you heard the questions, Johnny, if you were watching or could hear me.
No, I'm sorry. My internet gave out for a second, but I'm back.
I was just asking what was everyone's reaction to the uke video and
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad. No, I'm kidding. I don't even know. It was like the most surprising, unsurprising thing I've ever experienced.
it's kind of surreal, isn't it?
Yeah, I really did think I was gonna wake up the next day and like be like, whoa, what a fever dream, but it never happened. I'm still stuck in this nightmare.
So I was asking the three of you as we part ways if there's anything you guys wanted to say or anything else you wanted to talk about before we left.
Did you guys go already?
No.
I think Becky was gonna say something.
Yeah,
I
go for
was
it,
going
Becky.
to say thank you for supporting us through this. That's about all I have to say.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your story,
Yeah,
and I
thank
hate
you.
that there's freaks that are even saying anything about you. I hope
Yeah.
you know it's not. Those people aren't real. They're just like weirdos. Like they're
Yeah.
really not real people. They're just.
You have an army of
It's just a-
people supporting you.
It's a toxic gossip train. Haters.
Literally. Oliver?
I would say something similar as Becky. Just thank you guys so much for giving us the opportunity to speak and use our voices. And I appreciate the support, not only like here, but also like behind the scenes. Like, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, if I could just add on to what Becky and Oliver have said, the support is the most impactful, meaningful thing because I thought I might have had to hold on to these stories forever and take them to the grave, especially after I had seen how Adam had been treated in 2020. And I never, ever, ever thought that I'd be telling them at all, let alone so soon, and that they'd be so well received. So I just want to thank everybody as well. I want to thank Adam for being a child and getting this started and creating this conversation we're able to have today. And thank you to all of you for giving us the platform and the voices, because without you, we would be shouting into an abyss. So it's appreciated. And everybody watching this right now and being patient, asking the questions. I don't think this is going to be a super linear thing. There's going to be confusion and there's going to be questions that are had, and hopefully we have answers. And yeah, just thank you for everything.
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you
guys.
for all the viewers and everything. Like, you know, it has been pretty hard. I know all three of us have been receiving like hate, all for 3 different ways, but you know, it makes it a lot easier to deal with when you have also an overwhelming amount of support. And I don't think I would be able to deal with the amount of transphobia and just general hate that I've gotten if it weren't for people like affirming me. So I'd like to thank them for that. So thank you.
And thank you to the people who are actually doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, thank you guys. If she does a ukulele part 2, what would you guys like for her to discuss? No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer
How
that.
to break a ukulele, how to burn it, how to dispose of one forever.
How to never sing again.
Ooh.
No, because she ruined the ukulele. Like, it's actually like I
Not
love
fair.
playing that instrument.
Not fair for ukuleles.
Devastating.
No justice for the ukulele.
Literally, we need to reclaim the uke.
It was a whole, I mean, before it was like Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Yeah,
That
it was
was
like
the
little, like
ukulele.
yeah.
Aloha away.
Now she's...
That's the only proper time to
that was
to
the
bust out a uke.
you know? Rainbows and shit. Not anymore.
If I may too, I also I just saw Olivia pop up, and I want to thank you, Olivia, too, for your diligence with the first PowerPoint and showcasing all of this and then reaching out to all of us individually. Like, I really appreciate it a lot. So thank you, girl. Like, hats off
Thank
to
you
you.
so much. Thank you for telling your stories. It's literally so important. And
Yeah.
I
you.
will always be listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wonder if there's more stuff. I'm worried about this Trent guy. I don't know. He that guy's a menace, man. Those chat logs were so disturbing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yikes.
Well, anyway, thank you guys so much. If you guys need anything, let us know. Okay, we're in touch now.
Yeah.
And
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Anytime.
yeah, whatever you guys need. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
Thanks
guys.
for calling.
Bye.